Welcome back to the Banking on Digital Growth podcast. I'm your host, Derik Krauss. I'm joined again today by my co-founder, Ryan Harmon, to resume a very interesting conversation that we started in the last episode, where we showed what agentic AI is capable of and how it's going to transform the banking user experience. In this episode, we're going to talk more about what that means for the survival of credit unions and banks. Because about 15 years ago, when the smartphone became ubiquitous, we really saw fintech start to take off. And that has been leading to the disruption of the traditional branch-based banking model. But now, with the introduction of AI, which is going to impact every industry in the world, including banking, there's a really interesting opportunity for credit unions and banks to possibly leapfrog their own fintech disruptors by launching AI-first spinoffs. Let's dive into it.
All right, I've got Ryan Harmon with me here again, my co-founder in Metrify and Parallel, and we've got a really interesting topic that we want to talk about because in our last episode we talked about agent mode and in ChatGPT's Atlas browser and how that's capable of doing work for you on your screen. It can use a web app or a website like a human does. And then we started and we talked about how that can have an impact on doing tasks in banking. Like I wanted to use it to make a bunch of bank transfers, and which I'm sure it's fully capable of doing. It just OpenAI has got some protocols in place right now that makes it so it can't touch anything with banking. But I believe that's definitely just a temporary situation. And there are going to be lots of other use cases for using AI to accomplish tasks in banking. And so then, Harmon, you started talking about opportunities that can open up for credit unions and community banks to actually, I'm going to use the phrase, to disrupt their disruptors. So fintech is disrupting community banks and credit unions. I think there's an opportunity now for credit unions and banks to leapfrog fintech and actually and disrupt fintech. And I think that's a really interesting topic, and let's dig into that more.
Yeah, in our last call, you sort of said that AI is going to disrupt financial institutions like credit unions and banks if they do nothing. I said, what if AI actually helps them instead? We talked about how Atlas can use any website a human can use.
Mm-hmm.
So if a financial institution is suffering because their online banking is not good,
Mm.
what happens when folks aren't using online banking anymore because it's so much easier to just chat with your agent and say, check my balance or move this money around?
Right.
Uh, when the path of least resistance for most of our online activity becomes our agent, should you invest millions into revamping your online banking, or
Mm.
should you maybe focus somewhere else? So that becomes a really interesting question. Um, so what does it mean to disrupt the disruptors, and why? How could a financial institution like a credit union actually leverage AI, use AI to leapfrog a fintech? Like, and I'm thinking of Chime. Maybe we can. I think Chime might be a great example.
Mm.
You know, cool brand, download app, get checking account. You know,
Yeah.
super fast, super easy, but they don't really offer anything other than a great app that I can see that a good
Right.
credit union offers. So
Well, I think that's
how do we leapfrog Chime?
well, I think what you said is the essence of it. If I think about So in past episodes, I've talked a lot about the innovator's dilemma.
Hmm.
And the innovator's dilemma is essentially where you have an industry that's built on a certain way of doing things, and then a new innovation comes along that changes the game, and it puts the incumbents, the existing organizations, in a dilemma because they can't continue to serve their existing customers and be who they are today and serve the the growing number of people that want the new innovation. They can't be both.
Hmm.
Often because sometimes because they're diametrically opposed to each other, or it's just that you've built up all of your processes, built your whole business is based on this certain way of doing things, and ditching it for something entirely different is just it can feel for one, it can feel like suicide to abandon your existing customers, but also that level of transformation and change is just so painful and difficult that people have a hard time with that, and they don't want to go through it because of all the resistance. So I'm speaking in the abstract. So to make it more concrete, if we think about the history of credit unions and banks, where they came from, where they are right now, and what AI is presenting as an opportunity going into the future. Credit unions and banks grew up in a world without the internet. Most of them, not
Yeah,
all,
that's wild.
but
That's wild.
yeah, like there was someone on LinkedIn. I don't remember the name of the bank at the moment, but they made this post about how the bank is celebrating 125 years in business, and I was like,
Wow.
wow, that that's crazy. And so pre-internet, the way that you interacted with everyone as a bank is you had physical branches, right? And if you want to do a bank transaction of any kind, you go to the branch. I mean, maybe you make a phone call for some stuff, but for the most part, I remember as a kid going to the branch, and then this awesome innovation came out that was the drive-through banking.
Hmm.
Where I loved as a kid the little tubes. Like, you remember those? You remember those?
Yeah, Walmart still has them in the pharmacy drive up.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Oh
you can
yeah,
still.
yeah. Some pharmacies have them.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
that was a new innovation. Now it wasn't a disruptive innovation; it was a sustaining innovation. It was like an add-on to a branch,
Mm.
but very cool and very useful. But then an innovation came along that is truly disruptive to the branch-based model of banking, which is the internet. The internet makes it so that you no longer have to go to a physical branch to do banking transactions. Like, I
Yeah.
think in my own personal finances, I'm a great example. Like, I'm like the stereotypical persona of who these credit unions and banks are talking about, that they're trying to capture as like for their audience, and that they can't because they're not providing the experience that I want. So for maybe the last 5, 7 years. I don't remember exactly. I switched from when I was 18. I went to college, and my dad said, "There's a Wells Fargo branch on campus. Go open an account with Wells Fargo." And dad knows best. I didn't know anything about finances, and so I did. And I remember going to that branch quite a bit when I was in college. I was a neophyte when it came to money and finances, so that's just what I did. That's what dad said to do. But then as I got a little bit older, I was like, okay, uh, one, I want to do envelope budgeting, and Wells Fargo is going to charge me like $10 a month for every account I want to open. And I want to open a bunch, and
Mhm.
they're paying me 0.01% interest on the savings account. That's ridiculous. And so, and every once in a while, I had to go to these physical branches, and every time I had to go to a branch, I was like, oh my goodness, why do I have to go to a branch for this? And so I decided to switch to Ally Bank because I explicitly, when I was out looking, and I looked at credit unions and I looked at different banks, and I said, I want a financial institution that has zero branches. Because if they have zero branches, that means they will
That
have to
means they,
find a
right.
different way to cater to me without me ever having to go to a branch.
Yeah.
And so Ally Bank offered that. I went with Ally Bank, and now I haven't been to a physical branch location in probably 5 years. I don't know. Maybe it's been years. I don't know how many years at this point. It's been a lot of years, and that's how I like it. And uh, several years ago, when I got an auto loan, I didn't go to a branch. I just applied online, and I talked with a loan officer over the phone. When I got a mortgage,
Mhm.
I uh, never met my mortgage broker in person. I talked with her a lot via Zoom, and I got to know her that way. And you actually recommended her to us. Um, so, but my point is like I I am a like stereotypical example of and I'm 36 years old. Like in that, a lot of a lot of banks and credit unions talk about getting like the 20 and 30 year olds. Like the internet has made it possible for me to do all of those things without ever going to a branch, and that is disruptive to the whole
Mhm.
model. So you go from banking being inherently branch based to now where it can be branchless and totally
Mhm.
digital, and that's been the disruptive innovation that has caused uh, so many young people to be signing up with fintechs, and that credit unions and banks are struggling to keep pace in providing the user experience, the user interface, like a great app, great online banking, a great website, so that they can compete with fintech, and they're not being successful at it because they're clinging on to the branch based model, spending millions of dollars on operating branches and building new ones, which is money that's not going into their digital experience, and
Mhm.
they're losing to fintech on that front. But now there's a new innovation that is disruptive, and that is everything that's happening with AI. And so
Mhm.
now you have fintechs that are built on an incumbent model, which is they're essentially like when I think of Ally Bank, they are essentially an app to me on my phone. Sometimes I go to online banking on through a browser as well, but for the most part, they're an app on my phone,
Mhm.
and they have a great user interface and experience there. But it's uh, they're now locked in where they have millions of users that are relying on this great user interface where it's built for a human to go and use it, and they have
Mhm.
fixed functionalities for doing certain things. So,
Yep.
so you're
It's just like a branch. It's the fintech's app is the new branch. It
Mhm.
is fixed. It has to be downloaded. It has to be updated, and there's only certain menus you can go to do certain things.
Exactly.
It's the digital personification of a branch, and online banking is the same. And so that's the branches were disrupted by the internet. Now the digital branches perhaps are being disrupted by the next. I think it's the everything app, and OpenAI is poised to be
Mm,
the next everything app. They they're sprinkling in Spotify, a couple of other apps, maps. There's some, music, cooking, but it's going to grow to be the everything app.
mm.
So maybe that's a we can dive into that. But coming back to the fintechs are the new credit union or community bank and their mobile apps, which have been so attractive,
Hmm.
are the next branch, because in order to um, react to the next disruptor, they have to scurry and update their app and push an update to the app store, similar to how a credit union in the past would need to hurry and build another branch or extend a branch. That's
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference is, so you're a software developer,
Mhm.
and so you developed the Paraloom, our Paraloom app for AI visibility. You also developed the Metrify app, and one of the decisions that we made in Paraloom is we saw that a lot of other apps that are also measuring AI visibility, they're measuring things sentiment, like sentiment analysis. So when ChatGPT mentions your brand, is it mentioning it in a positive or a negative light?
Mhm.
And a number of other things. And we noticed that these other tools, they were all building out fixed functionalities into a fixed user interface.
Mhm.
And so we said, well, when it comes to analyzing responses that we get back from ChatGPT, and when it comes to understanding the content and doing like sentiment analysis, for instance, what if instead of building fixed functionality for that, we just make an AI agent available in the app that you can ask it to do any sort of analysis on the data.
Mhm.
So you could ask it to do sentiment analysis. You could ask it to go and do research on the competitors. You could ask it to write a blog post for you. You could ask it to
Well,
generate schema for your content. You can ask it to do any of these things. And I think that's the difference between being user interface UI first and functionality first, and being
yeah,
AI first, is that AI has the capability to write its own functions and write its own code and execute its own things without needing explicit functionality built into an app to do it.
yep,
But all of these fintechs are built on being UI first and like functionality first. And so I think what AI is opening the door for them to be disrupted with a new model where it's not UI first, it's not functionality first, it's AI first.
yeah.
And
Y- y- what you were just saying about Paraloom is, what if we didn't build it for humans and instead built it to be completely agentic?
mm,
And we may have fallen into the trap when building software, you're building a website, you think about the users. What things do the users need to click? What screens do they need to see?
right.
Screens. And
Yeah.
we ourselves are probably at risk right now because we've written tens of thousands of lines of code to create an app that humans can use.
Hmm.
And then I'll admit, I think it was a bit of an afterthought for us that, wait a minute, everything that users have to do, and we made it really easy. In Paraloom, you sign up, you put in your website URL, and AI takes care of a lot for you. It
Hmm.
looks at your website and does a ton of work for you, but there's still a lot for you as the human user to do. And it was a bit of an afterthought for us. We realized, oh, wait a minute, the agent could be doing all of this stuff, so that instead of having 20 separate screens, you just have one screen. Like,
Yeah, or imagine in the future. So we're starting to see this now where inside of ChatGPT, there are apps,
Hmm.
which is kind of like you kind of got to wrap your head around it. Like, so
Yeah.
ChatGPT is an app, and in side note, I think in the near future, there's a good chance it will be more than an app. Like I could,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
waiting for OpenAI to release its own operating system. So like AI is embedded in every aspect, everything you're doing on a computer or on your phone. It's not just an app. It's like built in to the whole experience. But anyway, right now, ChatGPT is an app, and inside of that app, there are other apps. So it's like Inception. So like Zillow has a ChatGPT app, and what that means is that if you want to get the Zestimate on your home or a Zestimate on some other home that you're looking at, you don't have to go to the Zillow app.
Hmm.
And if you did go to the Zillow app, you would have to, use it like you normally would. Like you type stuff in and you use it as a user, as a human. But within ChatGPT, you can just talk to the AI about what you're
Yeah.
trying to find and what you're trying to accomplish. And it can go like get the data and run functions on Zillow and bring back the information that you're
Yeah.
looking for. And
Yeah.
so,
What OpenAI is doing is saying, instead of having a web, it just they've inverted everything so that the entry point to the web and all of the tools we like to use becomes ChatGPT. So yeah, when you want to get a Zestimate, or if you just want an estimate on the property of your house, yeah, normally you'd go to Zillow and create an account. So in a world where we have hundreds and hundreds of accounts, I'll look at my password manager. I have over 500 logins in my password manager.
geez,
That
yeah,
is
it's probably the same for
five
me.
500 destinations where, okay, if I want to listen to music, I go log into this.
Mm,
Where I have my recipes is here. Now, yeah, they inside out is, no, this is now your entry point to everything. OpenAI is poised to be that entry point, that everything app, which is a gateway into, for me, hopefully eventually into my 500 apps, so
mm.
that I can just say, um,
Yeah, like they have
let's
like Spotify is an app on
in,
ChatGPT, right? Have you
yeah.
have you used it?
No, I'm a bit of a laggard, Derek. I use AI all day to write code and develop software, but I don't yet have it as integrated into my life yet. I open Spotify and I
Yeah.
have
Well,
my
sometimes, I mean, I think there's got to be enough benefit to use it. Like
right.
if like it'd be really interesting, and I don't have a Spotify account. I use Amazon's Amazon Music, but with the Spotify, I can imagine like if you're just opening the app and tapping on a suggested playlist or something, I don't know that there's a ton of benefit at this point
Sure.
to doing it within
No big.
ChatGPT instead. But if you're trying to compile a playlist instead of going and finding the songs and like trying to think about all the different songs, being able to ask ChatGPT like seed it with a few examples of songs and say go find similar music for me, and it could imagine it compiling a playlist for you.
Yeah, in one conversation, I say, "Hey, I'm gonna cook dinner this weekend. I've looked at some recipes. Let's do that Peruvian baked chicken." And it's ordered the groceries for me. The groceries
You've
have been
done that?
delivered.
You
It's
said,
not
is this
quite.
in, is this in, are you saying this in theory or this is something you've actually
I.
done?
It's not quite there. You cobble this stuff together, but I find recipes. I have it take the advertisement ridden recipe website and actually just suck out the recipe for and give it to me step by step.
Yeah.
Um, I have I've built a cart of a shopping list in Instacart with an AI browsing tool. I haven't tried it with Atlas yet, but it can build the cart. What gets
Mm,
tricky is when it's like, do you want, did you want a pound of garlic or did you want one
a head
garlic?
of garlic. Yeah.
A head of garlic. So you have to keep an eye on it, but we're just so close. And so now I'm cooking, start playing some Peruvian music and text my wife, let her know dinner's happening. So what could be 10 different apps I need to open over the course of 24 hours for the groceries, the recipe, the music, the texting my wife, and whatever else
Mm,
will it's going to happen hopefully through the Alexa device, Alexa or ChatGPT, I don't even need to open. My hands hurt, Derek. I'm getting old and it's getting harder and harder to actually use the phone. So if I can use my voice to do something, I'm absolutely doing it. But
that's been an unlock for me over the last, really just the last week. I started. Well, for the last maybe like 6 months, I've been using on my phone when I chat with Chat GPT. They've got it's really good at voice conversations, not even just
yeah,
dictation, like talking back and forth with
conversational,
me,
yeah.
and it sounds so realistic and human like now. It's
Hmm.
actually like I'm used to it at this point, but every once in a while I'm like, wow. It even like says like and stuff to try and be like, why are you saying You're an AI. But just over the last week, I so that same feature doesn't exist on desktop for some reason. You can dictate to it, but you can't have voice conversation like back and forth. But I've started using dictation a lot more because like I'm a decent typer, but it's just so much easier sometimes to
Hmm.
uh, just say, especially
Hmm.
when you're talking with AI and you don't have to word it exactly right. You
Hmm.
just need to be in the ballpark of of explaining it somewhat well, and it's
Hmm.
going to understand. And if it needs more clarification, you can give it that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I was in Home Depot. I had my AirPods in. I was shopping for a plant for my wife, and we have cats in the house. And so when you have cats,
mm,
you have to be very careful about the plants you have in your house
mm,
because cats like to eat plants and some plants are very deadly. So, tons of plants, and they all have cryptic names. Um, as so, I've got my AirPods in, and I just activate conversation mode with ChatGPT, and I say, "Hey, I'm looking at this plant, Ambrosia mexicana, or Amaryllis." And some of these plants are even more scientific than that. Do any of the Are any of these poisonous to cats? Boom, back and forth.
yeah,
Yep, that one is, that one is. So I'm just moving through the store before you're taking your phone out, and maybe you can take a picture of it with Google's
mm.
image, maybe, or you download some plant identification app and
Or
agree.
You Google the name of
You
it,
would,
and then you're sifting through that information to try and
yep,
through the results instead of just getting the answer.
just getting the answer immediately. And it's talking to me like, no, so far these are not safe choices. Tell me what else you see. Like, oh, okay. How about this one? And just read the tag and
Yeah,
um, took 5 minutes to find a plant that I thought looked cool and wasn't poisonous.
yeah,
And I didn't have to get my phone out. I
right. You just
it's
have it's like just in your pocket, and you just have it just through your
Yeah.
AirPods.
So what does that look like for a fintech, fintechs, they have all these developers. They can say, hey, developers, 2020, it's 2026. We need to enable all of this um, agentic stuff. They can do that, but so can a credit union or community bank. It may not seem like that, but I think in 2026, we're going to see a ton of tools and resources that either make it possible for a credit union to plug this stuff in, or they won't have to do anything because OpenAI is going to basically figure it out as they are right now. OpenAI is not waiting for anyone to catch up. OpenAI is saying people want to talk to AI and get help in their life. People want to do therapy sessions. People want to buy stuff. And they're just making it happen and making that work. Atlas is a great example. They're like OpenAI said, how can we help people use AI to do anything? Oh, we'll just give them a browser that AI can control so that anything they can do on the internet, their agent can do for them. So if I'm in, let's say I'm in Home Depot and I'm looking at these plants and one of the trees is $300. I Why can't the conversation immediately go to, do I have enough money in my discretionary spending account to buy this
Absolutely.
$300 tree?
Yes, without having to open it up and look at it, just knowing.
Yeah,
And if there's not enough of money in that account, you could say, because so I mentioned
envelope
before,
budgeting.
yeah, envelope budgeting. And so that means we have a particular spending account, but then we'll have other accounts that we put money in for certain things, but I don't have a debit card associated with each of those.
Hmm.
So sometimes what I'll do is I'm going to make this bigger purchase. I need to transfer the money from this account to this account,
Hmm.
but before I actually make the purchase. So that's a fantastic example, use case where I could say, um, yeah, I need you to, okay, I'm gonna buy this thing that's $300. I need you to move it from this account to my account with the debit card, and then
Hmm.
imagine it could just go and do it. It's like done.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm getting at there is, did the credit union did the credit union I use need to enable that feature in any way? Did they need to hire developers to give me that next generation experience? I think not soon. I think
Mm.
I will be able to give ChatGPT access to my most sensitive information, um, by way of you know, blockchain technology can take all my most sensitive information, like my social and login credentials, and be able to securely use it to go use these legacy platforms like online banking, to do stuff and make it immediately available in my AirPods. That's a really
Uh,
simple use case, checking an account balance. What's to stop these agents, which now have human capabilities, from doing other things on my behalf?
that's yeah, that's an interesting. So you're saying maybe they don't have to make a fancy app, uh, like are you essentially saying that they can keep their bad online banking and their bad mobile app, and AI would just use the bad version?
We have to see how this plays out,
Yeah, because
but
I in
I'm
my mind I've thought that so that's definitely a possibility. I've thought more like, because I think a problem with with those older apps, or like subpar apps, they've got even less functionality than fintech apps, and even fintech
Mhm.
apps are like fixed functionality. I figured there needs to be some new method for having an AI first
Mhm.
experience where there there's not a built-in user interface and a bunch of built-in
functionality that a person goes and interacts with. Instead, you're inside of ChatGPT and you're chatting with it, and it can deliver back certain visual things because
Right.
humans by nature are very visual. So it can, it's nice to be able to quickly see your account
See something.
balances, and
Yeah.
AI can already do that. Like it can, if you ask ChatGPT for a weather forecast, like it will show you a nicely designed weather forecast feature like you expect to get in your weather app on your phone. So
Yeah.
it's
Which
capable
put
of
yeah.
delivering those
Yeah.
types of interfaces within ChatGPT. So I'm imagining that as a credit union or bank, you would need to be on some sort of banking platform that would allow ChatGPT or banking platform, or like maybe it ends up being like a ChatGPT app, kind of like we were talking
Hmm.
about. There's a Zillow app on ChatGPT now. There's a
Hmm.
Spotify app on
Yeah.
ChatGPT. So
Yeah.
imagine, and it's still early to know if this is how it's going to develop. But imagine having your credit union app
Hmm.
on ChatGPT, and that's
Hmm.
what you're interacting with, and that app makes different functions available to the AI,
Yeah.
and a limited number of like pre-built visual interfaces that get delivered within ChatGPT. But
Yeah.
then but then it's like open field where the
Yeah.
AI is able to do anything you can imagine as long as there's some sort of endpoint it can hit to ultimately accomplish it. And what's so interesting about that is often when there's a disruptive innovation, the new innovation makes things lower cost,
Hmm.
and it also reduces the margin that companies make, at least initially, on it, but it makes it
Hmm.
lower cost. And so you think about going from branch based to branchless. Well, uh, obviously, to build a really awesome app and really awesome web app, really awesome mobile app, that's expensive because really good developers are expensive.
Hmm.
Uh, but still, is it which is more expensive, developing an app and running servers, or building a physical branch
Physical
and
branch.
paying people and all the things that go into operating a branch ongoing? Like the branch is going to be way more expensive. So
Yep.
versus making an app is less expensive. But then when we go from, I think about app, UI first, user interface first, functionality first, to AI first, here again, there's potential for an AI first application to be much less expensive, and
Yeah.
we've already experienced this personally with that example with Paraloom. It would have taken us a lot more time to build specific functionality for sentiment analysis and for all these different functions, which we were able to accomplish just by giving AI access to data.
To
And we
data.
know firsthand from building websites for financial institutions over the last 10 years. If you spend $100,000 on a website, most of that is not going into the information. Most of that is going into the visual layout, the user interface for
Hmm.
humans to use. Like 80% of it
Yep.
is going into that. So if you can cut that out of the equation, it's the same for a mobile app or for online banking. Imagine if 80% of the cost is gone because
Yeah.
AI just needs it just needs, it needs some functions that it can use, and it needs good information.
Hmm.
But you don't have to invest all this money into developing a perfect user interface for humans. It's possible that the cost of launching an AI first banking app is likely going to
Yep.
be a lot less expensive than launching a typical UI first, functionality first fintech app today.
Yeah, it should be. OpenAI just released the apps SDK, and
Oh, they
this
did
is
release it?
yeah, it's in it's in you can use it, and you can build your app, your OpenAI app right now.
Okay.
However, and then you submit it to their app store, and it's not called an app store, but you submit it to them, and they're they're not approving and releasing. It's very early day right now.
Hmm.
You can build it and you can use it internally,
Okay, but that you
but it
can't. They're
doesn't
not.
go public to where
I see.
any ChatGPT user is able to use your app. But that's almost exactly how the iOS App Store played out when it hit the scene. They said, I think the same day they announced the App Store, they also announced the tools for developers to build apps, and that's what OpenAI has done recently, which is they've released this tool that says, here's how to build apps on our platform. Get started, check it out. So I think financial institutions need to take a look at that, because that's going to give them an idea of it's a way to just kind of get a head start. However, I have a conflict in my mind, which is, take a credit union. Who should build the app? Who should build the app that can be
Well,
used in ChatGPT?
I have
Is
a
it
strong
the
opinion about this, but keep going.
I think maybe the homework assignment for a credit union right now is to reach out to your rep at Loans PQ, at whoever your core provider is, whoever issues your debit cards, these underlying technology services that are being leveraged that make the operations go around online. Ask your rep, hey, what are you guys doing about this? Um, because to have an app in ChatGPT that can do transactions, look at balances, that can do loan origination, those systems don't belong to the credit union,
Mm.
but those are the systems that the ChatGPT app will need to interface with, so that when I'm doing a home equity line of credit with my agent in OpenAI, it can say, "Oh, let's spin up the Mountain America Credit Union app," and it spins it up. It's this beautiful interface with just enough that I need. The agent's going to take care of all the heavy lifting. It's just enough interface for me. Well, when it comes to originating that loan, that's actually going to need to go over to whatever loan origination system Mountain America has in place. So there's a bit of a pro and a con I see, which is, hey, this when this core provider decides to be a leader and do that and make that integrate with the app store, the OpenAI app store, now all of the credit unions that use that core provider can benefit from it. Um,
Well,
that's a potential advantage there, but I'm not sure
yeah. I
what that
mean,
looks like. How does this all play out?
I don't think anyone knows yet how it will all play out, but I do think there's one thing I have a strong opinion on,
Yeah.
and that is so going back to the innovator's dilemma. That's the title of a book by Clayton Christensen, a Harvard professor who studied the topic of disruptive innovation. And what he found is that when there's a big disruptive innovation that comes along that fundamentally transforms an industry, which, so again, that's the internet has transformed banking from being branch based to branch less. And now what we're saying is AI is transforming from being UI UI first, user interface first, functionality first, web apps and mobile apps to an AI first experience. And in any case where there's a disruptive innovation, Clayton Christensen also studied how do organizations successfully adopt these new innovations, because and a lot of them don't. A lot of them die without ever adopting, because what he found is most organizations are not successful at transforming themselves. I mean, so if you think about a typical community credit union or bank, and they see what's happening with fintech, and they say we need to build a really great mobile app and have a really great digital experience. What most of the industry is talking about is digital transformation, which what the way that most people are interpreting that is, well, you keep all of your branches and you just add on the digital stuff, which is not working out for them. They end up with subpar digital experiences because they're putting all this money into the branches instead of into the mobile app. If they wanted to truly transform, here's what it would mean. It would mean that they need to close all of their branches and fire pretty much all of their employees and replace them with tech people, so that they essentially become a fintech. But that like go pitch that to your board of directors and see what they say, see what their appetite for it is going to be. Like, pretty much no one. They're I think there are some examples like Alliant Credit Union. They went totally branchless, and they did that a while ago. But in most cases, that's going to be viewed as like one, suicide to close all of your branches, because you still have lots of people who want the branches, right? And they're often, not always, but often older members who have more money than the younger customers and the younger members. And so there's going to be so much resistance that it's just not going to be possible in most cases to truly transform. And we're going to see the same thing happen with the AI as a disruptive innovation. So the question is, if transformation, like true transformation, like going from being branch-based to branchless, or going from being UI-based to AI-based, if transformation is just too painful and difficult for most organizations to go through, what do you do? And what he found is the most successful strategy is for organizations to launch spinoffs. So instead of trying to transform the parent organization, change the mothership, you just launch a separate spinoff brand that operates under a branchless strategy, or under an AI-based strategy. And so in real practical terms, in my opinion, if you're a credit union or bank listening to this, I think you 100% need to be thinking about launching a spin-off brand that operates under the new paradigm, the new innovation. But pause to consider if that new spin-off should be built on a mobile app UI first, like fintech. I think if it were me at this point, I wouldn't. I would start investigating and thinking about and planning for how do we leapfrog that paradigm and go straight to be AI first, AI based app, because just like branch-based institutions still have lots of members and customers who want the branches, and so it feels like suicide to shut those down. Well, now fintechs have millions and millions of customers and members who rely on that UI first, that app based
Hmm.
experience, and they're going to be beholden to them for years because not everyone's ready to switch to an AI first experience. Most people, the vast majority of people are not, but it is the future. And so
Yeah.
I would think about leapfrogging the app based fintech and going and launching a spinoff that is AI first. The only thing that's hard right now is it's so new that like how do you even do that? Like there's not a fixed recipe for it. Like launching a launching an app and great online banking and a great website. It's expensive, but there's a formula, there's a recipe for it.
Hmm.
So you'd have to be a true innovator to like trailblaze the way. How do you even make an AI first banking experience? Like no one has done it yet, but I believe like that's the future. Like that's where everything is going, and so
Hmm.
that's where I would be thinking.
So this is possible. We know some folks at Nimbus, the modern digital core provider,
Yeah.
and I know they've worked with some credit unions and banks to do spin-offs. And the
Hmm.
way, so for example, Zinlo Bank is a division of People's Bank.
Right.
I think People's Bank is a more legacy,
They're a typical
typical
like
legacy
regional
bank.
regional bank. Yeah, I think they're like a $10 billion bank, and they
Yep.
launched Zinlo. Yeah.
They launched Zenlo, and Zenlo is totally branchless, totally digital. It's right up there with, it feels like a Chime to me.
Hmm.
So how they do that, it seems like the Nimbus Core made that possible. So what what I love about this is that you have your current institution with its heritage and history, and you can have a spin-off that is separate enough to not be to do things completely different brand,
Hmm.
um, no branches. This is where it might get a little choppy based on Innovator's Dilemma, and you can tell me what Clayton Christensen would say. But to me, it seems like an advantage that this new spin-off brand that could be totally AI first. Imagine it doesn't even have an app.
Hmm.
Maybe it's the first agent only financial brand, and maybe it's only in ChatGPT. So far, they're the only one I know of with an app store,
Yeah, and they're by far
and
like they've got the
they're
lion's
the
share of users, by far the biggest.
yeah. So the first and only ChatGPT based financial brand. Imagine that,
Yeah.
but it can say, backed by or from from it's connected to the
Yeah.
original credit union. That's where the money lives, and it's that gets a little dicey, but you can kind of say, hey, we come from a history and heritage of being community first, people oriented, and does that violate any of the principles that Clayton Christensen would?
I don't think no, I don't think it necessarily does. I think as long as I think the key of the spin-off, the reason you do a spin-off instead of trying to just do it like transform internally or just treat it like a project internally is that it needs autonomy. So
Mm,
I it needs to not be constrained by the constraints of the parent organization. But that said, I think there are tons of examples of uh, like sub brands that say, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but they say like, this company by this,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that it like grants it legitimacy
Yeah.
by being from a strong parent brand, but it's able to operate. And I think that's more of a marketing decision if you should do that or not. But the point of the spinoff is to give that new entity the autonomy to not be constrained. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't need to operate within a world of branches. It just
Yeah.
operates within the world of AI, and what's best to do there is the main point.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, I love the idea of this legacy spin-off relationship because I think the term legacy gets a bit of a bad rap, but to me it means the history, the trustworthiness. There's a reason I haven't diverted all of my finances through a neobank. Um, Chime has been around long enough that I would trust them, but I'm not familiar with their underlying. There's a bank somewhere behind Chime. Uh, but this idea of having the legacy credit union or community bank backing up the spinoff, I think
Mm.
is great. There's trust in the age and the old roots of that legacy institution, and it allows the legacy institution to maybe dial back on some of its initiatives if it can hand off
Yes.
some responsibility and some initiatives to the spinoff, like getting the youth, serving the 20 to 30s, trying to keep up with all the branchless digital type experiences. What if it could just stop trying, stop dealing with that, and offload and give focus to, okay, so now that the spinoff is handling all of that, and using a technology, a core like Nimbus makes it so easy. Now we can do other things. Maybe some of the branches can stay open now
Yes. No,
because
I think the
we can
branches.
divert funding and resources to those and make them work for what they're really good at, which is sitting down, having some. What's up with the suckers? We still have suckers up on the counter. If I'm gonna be in the branch, if I have to be there physically, or if someone wants to go there, it's not because they're suckers, man. Massage chairs,
I
coffee,
I thought you were about to say
couches.
that they're better if you have to go there. There better be suckers. Is what I thought you were going to say.
Well, there should be, but maybe we can double down on the if you're gonna
Uh,
have a brick and mortar. Yeah.
yeah. No, you make such a good point there because I I I think launching a spinoff would be very freeing for a
Freeing.
branch based institution because right now they're in the spot where they want to keep these branches for a lot of members that's in or members customers that still want them.
Hmm.
Lots of people still want the physical branches,
Hmm.
and so there's a market to be served there, but
Hmm.
but they're but at the same time they're trying to be that, but then they're also trying to capture the younger
Yeah.
audiences, or and I say younger, it doesn't. I'll, it's not always like old people use digital banking services too, right? So just an audience that doesn't want to go to the branch,
Hmm.
they want to use digital, and they're like trying so hard to capture that audience, and they're not succeeding at it. And what's so sad, I've talked with a number of institutions that they say to me, Derik, we are we are literally dying because our our members are aging out is the term they use. That's like the polite way of saying that they're getting old and dying, and
Hmm.
they're the membership in that credit union or the number of customers in that bank is dwindling because they cannot capture younger generations that expect a great digital experience, and
Mhm.
they're literally dying. Like the credit union or bank is dying off, and
Mhm.
that's like that seems tragic to me. Like it seems like if they can launch a spin-off that is optimized for that digital crowd,
Mhm.
then that frees the branch-based institution to optimize for the people that want branches.
Mhm.
So you've got a branch-based model over here, and you've got a branchless model over here, and you can
Mhm.
stop trying to be both.
Mhm.
You can
Yep.
optimize for what, like, if you're a branch-based institution, you are best at providing. It doesn't mean that there's no digital aspect, but you just need to be, the digital aspect just has to be good enough for the people that want to be part of the branch-based experience.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually very, very freeing to be able to optimize separately for what each audience wants and cares about.
Yeah. Let's be honest. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but doesn't seem like
Now you got to say it. Say it.
loans PQ is not going to doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon.
You went there. Meridian
Meridian
Link.
Link, Fiserv, they're the it's not going to happen overnight.
It's
We've
probably going to be
seen
some new entrants
it's
that
going to be
come
new
in, and
entrants. Yeah,
because they're facing, it's going to be the innovators for them as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's hard to watch some amazing credit union marketers try and work so hard on their brand and on their marketing, and they do fantastic work, but they can only do so much. The experience of new customers and existing members, and it is tied to some of these providers or these vendors,
Mm,
and
yeah.
and we've worked with some credit unions that have just knocked their brand out of the park, and they want so badly to be more modern, um, but then the buck sort of stops at some of these loan applications or the online banking, and their hands are tied. Imagine,
Yeah, like they're not able to provide a fintech like experience because they can't develop the solution in house, and the vendors that the institution decide that they have to
mhm,
work with are
mhm,
subpar compared to a fintech experience.
mhm. Yeah, it's hard to watch. I can see myself if I worked in a credit union. So I work in marketing in a credit union. I would be I would be so excited at the idea of transitioning from the legacy marketing department to the spinoff
Mm,
brand. I would want to move to that one, and then be able to realize some of the, we have so many ideas for credit. You and I, we've had so many ideas over the years for, oh, this could be better, that could be better, and we've gone to our clients to say, come on, we've got to go to Meridian Link and get them to do this. If it could just do this, and it's just crickets, crickets,
mm,
crickets, crickets.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I think AI is going to present new opportunities for
mhm,
sure. And I think where credit unions and banks are often, there are lots that are, there's a stereotype of them being slow to move. I think AI is something worth betting on. Like
oh yeah,
all the pieces aren't in place yet, but really the more I use it, and I use it every single day. Um, like the more it's not perfect, but the more incredible it is, and it keeps getting better and better, and it's going to impact every industry, including
Mhm.
banking. And so I think there's big opportunity here, and I think there's a pretty interesting opportunity for credit unions and banks because the disruptive innovation that's happening in banking, it is happening, but it's happening slowly. Whereas there are some industries where it happens within a few years.
Mhm.
And if you read the Innovator's Dilemma, where Christensen talks about the disk drive industry, like, a new entrant will rise to the top of disrupt the incumbents, rise to the top of the industry, and then within a few years they're gone because a new entrant came and replaced it. It just happened so quickly, uh,
Mhm.
but which would make it really difficult to react, right? But
Mhm.
the disruption that's happening within banking is happening, but it's happening slowly over
Mhm.
decades, and so that gives FIs an opportunity to react. I think it's just going to be a matter of, uh, do they take action, and do they take the right action? I think right now, with everyone talking about digital transformation, uh, it's less of a tech problem and more of a strategy problem. They're
Mm.
pursuing the wrong strategy.
Yeah.
They're trying to strap on the digital to a branch-based institution and not
Mhm.
cut anything out, not spin anything off. I think it's more of a strategic problem, and AI is going to present some very interesting opportunities in the near future to potentially leapfrog their own disruptors.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. We'll see what happens to the chimes of the world. Maybe, yeah, they should start to feel the pain here soon.
Yeah, it may take a little while, but I think, yeah, that's what I foresee. So for anyone listening, this is a topic that I'm passionate about, and I'd love to talk with you more about it. Send me an email, dk@metrify.com, and let's have a chat.